Welcome back to the Bookman channel, everybody. I apologize for my absence for the past 5 to 6 months. If you're unaware, you didn't watch the last video on this channel. I did undergo an apprenticeship with the shadow government. We did some fucked up shit. We had to put autism in Tylenol. It was a crazy experience. But today, guys, we are back. I'm back in town, ready to start the channel again. And the setup's a little bit different today. I'm missing my webcam. I still need to look for that. My microphone, as you see, I'm using the AirPods. The microphone, I've been having trouble getting it to connect to my laptop. So if you know anything about that, maybe leave a comment in the comments below. Um, Things have changed since I was gone, and that's okay. Um, for example, when I came back, my $300 pair of Jordans were gone. Okay. Um, I also found another man in my bed, but that's just life, and that's what you have to deal with. Just roll with the punches or whatever. But today, specifically, everybody, we are talking about No Country for Old Men. Now, this was my first Cormac McCarthy book. I am aware of the allegations on the channel that maybe I'm a lit bro. That's not fair because I've read a Ursula K. Le Guin book and a Toni Morrison book, and they're both females. Okay, so I'm not a lit bro, but this book almost converted me to the lit bro sphere. And yes, I have read all of Red Rising, but again, not a lit bro. But there's a lot of great things about this book. It is, I think, I would say one of my favorites that I've read in a pretty long time. I guess the first thing I would like to discuss in concerns to No Country for Old Men, let's talk about the style, the format, or whatever, how the words fit on the page. Um, this is definitely in the school of Hemingway, I would say. This is minimalism. This is great minimalism. The characterization in this, okay, that's I should probably say that for a different category. But anyways, I really did like the minimal writing here. It's like Cormac McCarthy was very precise with his words. That he really does end up telling a pretty impactful and layered story, and he doesn't have to be flowery with how he says it. Uh, so yeah, like I said, the prose is pretty just um, maybe basic or simple, but I think there's a beauty in that too as well. So at the start of every chapter, we get about a page or two, or an excerpt of writing in italics, and this is sort of one of the main characters' inner elaborations on what is occurring in the story, and so it usually aligns with what's happening in the timeline, or maybe it's a little bit before things have happened or behind, but around that area of where when things are occurring. And then usually you'll get into sections with the other point of view characters. So you'll get a page or two from this point of view, a page or two from this point of view, maybe get another point of view, maybe go back to the same point of view that we started with, and then we get another chapter with the italicized beginning. Personally, I really tore through this book pretty fast, and maybe that has something to do with the simple writing, so it wasn't really hurting my brain. Like currently, I'm reading a Guy Gavriel K book, and I feel like I have to have a dictionary as well when I'm reading it because he uses really big boy words, and it's kind of hard for me. But this book, yeah, I feel like its style lent me to getting through it pretty quick, and being sort of a story that any sort of reading level can kind of jump into. So if I already jumped the gun earlier and started talking about this one a little bit, let's go ahead and go into the characterization, the characters in this book, which I find to be pretty amazing. One thing I really liked about how McCarthy does his characterization is like he never tells you anything about the characters. You sort of just find out what kind of people they are and their motives and their, who they are, I guess you could say, through their actions. So he'll never tell you like, Johnny was a very sad type of person and liked to watch. Okay, I don't know where I was going with that one, but you know what I mean. Like some stories, the author will tell you who this character is, but Corey McCarthy kind of lets you figure that out on your own with your own interpretation as the story goes, right? So Again, that sort of feeds off of the minimalist, style that he has, but I really enjoyed that 'cause, um, again, you're learning something new about these characters as the story's going on, and he never straight up just tells you who they are. It's for you to figure out through how they act and how you interpret their actions. And, again, so character work here was really good. A lot of good complex characters. Llewellyn Moss, who's I would consider the protagonist or one of the protagonists. Great character. The sheriff or deputy, good character. Shigur, I think it's how you pronounce it. Shigur, I believe Chigurgh, something like that. One of the best villain type characters that I've read in a book. I mean, this guy drinks milk. That's how you know he's evil, because only evil people drink milk like that. I mean, and he also will drink half a drink and put it back in the fridge. Like that's some devious shit. I have to be honest. Like he was a pretty good villain. Um, and he's not just like, let me twirl my mustache evil. Like you sort of by the end of the book kind of get a view into his understanding of why he acts in the way that he does. To sort of briefly touch on the themes of No Country for Old Men without giving away too much for any interested readers. It's really about centered around the idea of redemption, I would say. At least that's what I got through my read is redemption even something that's possible to achieve? Can we actually redeem ourselves? Can we outrun our past? Because we have a lot of characters who continually through this book suffer the consequences of actions they performed in the past. So can we really forget the past, or is it always a part of us, always influencing what we do, right? I had another point here that I wanted to touch on. Hold on. Okay, I remembered it, guys. I had to cut that out real quick. But I think Cormac McCarthy really reveals some profound truths to us through this story, and he does it like again through just simple dialogue between characters. Um, Sheriff Bell's not gonna come onto the scene and give like a Hamlet type of soliloquy. He's gonna talk with a Southern accent, and it's gonna be awesome. He sounds like like Clint Eastwood or something, like a cowboy, and he's saying these super profound, you know, observations that he's made of life in the South and how it's developed, or the West, Southwest, how sort of the morality of the West or as a culture had developed in this time and sort of took was starting to take a new face, and how he was trying to come to terms with that. And like I mentioned, these characters aren't going to use big words to sort of like lull you into this like poetic scene. It's like it feels very authentic and real. Like, this is a deep conversation you would have with the homies, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're at the beach with them and you sit on a little patio outside of your apartment or whatever, and maybe you're under the influence, maybe you're not, but then you just like talk about like, do you believe in aliens? Like stuff like that. This maybe not be a good analogy, but it just I guess the dialogue, which is another highly debated topic, because he doesn't use quotations, but you can kind of get the sense of who's talking and when, anyways. But the dialogue and interaction between characters feels so authentic, and I think I really enjoyed that. Appreciate that about that too with this story. Lastly, I'll touch on setting, and this could also maybe work as a pitch for the story. So, the setting is post World War II, post Vietnam, Texas, New Mexico. That's might not be even where it takes place. We're in the Southwest, the West somewhere. New Mexico, Texas, the border type those that region of the United States of America. And I think Cormac McCarthy does a great job, plucking you from your couch or wherever you just be a shitbag and read books at, and he puts you right into the setting of the story, especially with the opening scene with Llewellyn Moss when he's hunting antelope, and Cormac McCarthy describes like the environment around him. It's like, wow, like, you could really picture what he's seeing. You really feel like you are there in the West with this guy, about to ruin his life, just because he wanted a little bit of cash. I see people do that all the time, though. I mean, I have friends that do DraftKings, and I think they live on the street now because of gambling, but they always quit before they win big. Am I right? The setting here, I really did enjoy the setting. And Cormac McCarthy does a great job putting you in that setting, in that time period, with his just subtle nuances of variety he puts in there that really uh, get you enveloped into the scene and what's happening in this world at this time. And it's also a familiar setting, right? It's not like we're on Mars or we're in the land of Cordoviana where there's elves. Like this is America, and so for my American viewers, it's going to be pretty familiar to you. So this just makes it also easier to sort of hop into the story, get on board, and see where these characters go. That will conclude the return video of Bookman, guys. No Country for Old Men. Definitely give it a read. Um, I would like to give some trigger warnings though, because there's a lot of like extreme violence. Maybe not like Blood Meridian. I haven't read that book, but I've heard it's absolutely terrible. I would say this one still has the brutality of a Cormac McCarthy book, but it's not over the top like The Road or Blood Meridian. I would say I haven't read those books, but just from what I've heard, I think maybe this would be an easier book, easier entry point into his work if you want that, but not too much of that. You know what I'm saying? Like a little bit of ketchup on your hot dog, but you don't want the whole coleslaw and all that nasty shit like relish. Do people even eat relish on their hot dogs? Is the real question. Anyways, um, but yeah, no, I would check out this book. Is it literary fiction? Yeah, kinda. I would say it's also kind of like a crime fiction. Um, Maybe mix those two. Um, I'm gonna watch the movie later. We'll see how it holds up with the story. But yeah, guys, thank you all for watching. I appreciate every one of you. Uh, New video next week, hopefully. And yeah, have a good week, and I'll see you later. Thank you for watching.